Buckingham Palace says the lady that it's accused the senior aide to the late Queen of repeatedly questioning her about her background has received a personal apology. Ngozi Fulani met, of course, we know this, don't we, Prince William's godmum, Lady Susan Hussey. Apparently there was an apology. She now accepts that there was no malice intended by the comments, and everybody basically wants to move on. Is that right? Is it time just to move on?
I think so. All's well that ends well. The issue in the first instance wasn't asking about Ngozi Fulani's background. That's a legitimate question. It's not taking the answer that she gave. At face
value.
Yeah, and kind of pressing. And equally, that's not, as this statement shows, necessarily a function of deep racism. It's just a bit of clumsiness, a bit maybe old-fashioned attitudes. And this is the right place for that whole episode to land. Both women have spoken. It's clear that despite some of the abuse that Ngozi Fulani got, that there's nothing there that refutes her account. And for Lady Hussey, there's nothing there that says that she had any malicious intent. And it's a really good resolution to a bit of an unfortunate and sort of fractious event.
But why did it need to get to this then? If someone had asked her this at the Palace do, why not just explain then, actually, I think your questioning is a little bit inappropriate. You have that conversation then, Lady Hussey says, oh, God, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean it like that. You shake hands, you do cheers, we drink, you move on.
I think that's probably right. But equally, if you're meeting, I don't know Ngozi Fulani's background particularly, but if you're meeting someone from the royal court, someone who's been the Queen's senior lady-in-waiting, it can be quite an intimidating experience. And when someone comes up to you, lifts your lifts your badge and presses you, actually your natural reaction is just to answer and not to push back and not to have the row and not to say, no, I don't think that's appropriate. And you feel afterwards, and I think lots of your viewers will empathise with this aspect of it, when you're speaking to someone really important or really senior and you don't necessarily give a great account of yourself, you feel afterwards a bit kind of low and you want to kind of correct things. And I think she was, that's what she did when she put it out on social.
Yeah, I have to say, I don't really get what you're saying, because if you felt low and you felt uncomfortable, why wouldn't you just contact the event organised and discuss it with them? Why go to the broader public? That's the bit I don't get. James, let me bring you in.
Well, there's a moment in Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy with Alec Guinness where he says, coincidence is always suspicious. And I think there's quite a lot in that. I don't want to make any unseemly charges, but it's quite a press feat that was pulled off here, where you have a tape recording of irreformable until today's.
We have a transcript, don't we?
A transcript, all right, wherever that came from, of a supposedly irreformable, lady-in-waiting at just the moment when Harry and Meghan are conducting their assault on the royal family. Now, I'm a Republican. I want the whole lot abolished. It takes something for me to get sympathetic towards a lady-in-waiting.
Smacks of conspiracies.
Can I finish my point before you make your clever remark?
Go on, then. He says it's conspiracy, but what you're about to say.
The thing is, the most striking feature of this whole episode is that the royal household say that they will continue to focus on inclusion and diversity after this whole episode. What a travesty for the royal family to rally the nation around those two woke, bankrupt, old-fashioned Democratic Party boring nouns, when they need to rally the nation, if anything, towards what are we going to do about our future? What are we going to do about the NHS? What kind of Britain do we want in future? And that is the thing that they want to avoid by this boring chit-chat about inclusion and diversity. I'm glad the two have made it up, but I can't take on face value the claims made by Ngozi Fulani. Even her name, if you do the research, is fairly worth researching.
There's two things here. One, when you're dealing with something as established and prestigious and regal as the royal court, sending a letter, what do you think is going to happen? It's like if you send a letter to your local NHS trust, nothing happens, let alone if you send it to the royal family. So I think she's completely justified in putting something out on social. The idea
It wasn't putting something out. It was a completely orchestrated Oprah Winfrey, full-on, 24/7 campaign to try to reform the royalty.
The idea that there is
disgrace.
a global conspiracy against the royal family is, I just think, that's just for the birds. She put some stuff out. Netflix had already scheduled when their stuff was coming out. From the statement, there's no suggestion at all from Lady Hussey that this was somehow entrapment or a setup. And just one more point on her name. Her name's originally, she was born Marlene Heddy. Right. Lots of people of Caribbean descent make the choice that actually they don't want that name because it was the slave owner's name. In the same way that Cassius Clay changed his name to Muhammad Ali, others make different choices. But I think it's absolutely fair and right to respect that choice.